Great day, great day. This is Tammy J with the Texture of Me. Welcome to the show. Our show provides a place where people can voice their experiences and having dealt with discrimination because of the texture of their hair. Great day, great day, great day. I said an extra great day. I'm so pumped to be here. Welcome to the Texture of Me. Thank you so much for all our listeners, everyone for being here. We have a special guest, Miss Brittany Below. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Happy to be here.
Yes, awesome. You know, when I love to always start off on who my guest is for me. So, you know, Brittany, when you read about what you're up to and impacting women all over the world, I'm so moved and touched and inspired of the impact you're making in the world with women. You know, a space where you're coaching them to really be ambitious, and really living a life that they desire. Like, that's huge, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm really present to the skill set and the tools that you have, that you're able to see that for them and help them to discover that as a coach. Man, that speaks volume of who you are and your contribution to the world. And for that, I say thank you. That is so awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's something I kind of fell into doing and really have come to love. It's something I needed for myself, and I'm really happy to share that with others.
Oh, that is so awesome. And the impact is huge. You know, when I think about what's going on in the world and about women and women's rights, we need people like you in the world to coach women through the processes and discovering who they are, a level of identity that they didn't even know was missing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The world has a lot happening, and young women, even women that are well into their career, struggle with a lot of different things that make them question themselves. And, you know, even myself at times, it's really important to have women and others around you who can remind you of your strength, remind you of who you are, and keep you going.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So one of the things here at the Texture of Me, we're talking about our self-love, and it starts off with our hair, right?
Yeah.
One of the areas, right? And so when you think about hair, what does hair mean to you?
I loved that question when I read that initially, because I had to really think about what it meant. And it's not something that I paid much attention to when I was younger. I paid attention to it, but not in the way that I do now. And I grew up with just wild hair. I'm biracial. My mother did not really know what to do with my hair as a young girl, so I typically wore it up in ponytails and didn't do a whole lot with it. And as I got older, I realized, you know, I was trying to do a lot to fit in. I was trying to do a lot to conform to the environment that I was in. And so I was really neglecting my hair for a long time and mistreating it and damaging it and doing all kinds of things. And over the years, I've come to realize it's so much of who you are and shows a lot about your personality. And when I think back to when my hair was damaged, when I wasn't taking care of it, when I didn't know what to do, I mean, I could easily say the same about my life and the decisions that I was making. So I know it, some may say like your hair, it's just hair. No, it's a lot more than that. And I know now today it's something that I take pride in, I take care of, just as I do my body and my mind.
Yeah, it does play a significant role in how we actually, our level of identity, right? How we view ourselves. I mean, even how people view us. I mean, that's why it's $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
Right. Totally. Did you ever experience any type of some level of mental challenges with wearing your hair the way it was, considering that, you know, your mom didn't know how to do your hair? So did your dad play a role in helping you with your hair at all, or how did that work?
Yeah, I remember, you know, growing up, my dad would try to do a lot to help me with just defrizzing it, making it have more of a conditioned look, not so dry. And we tried all kinds of things. And then eventually I started dyeing my hair and playing with different colors, which dried it out even more. And when I was younger, I can remember just the earliest like school photo that I took, and I was so unhappy with. I remember taking a photo, and when I got them back, like actually coloring on it to cover up things before I would give the picture to people.
Wow.
Because I was just so unhappy with it. And I had hair kind of flying out to one side where it shouldn't have been. And it was just one of those moments where it was like embarrassing. And growing up, it can be difficult, especially with kids. You know, they're brutal. They're people picking on you, saying all kinds of things. So I dealt with a lot of that. But my parents did their best that they could and definitely tried to make me remember that I'm beautiful and smart and all those great things, but I never believed them because I had the wild, crazy, dried out hair that everybody would make fun of growing up. So yeah, they both did what they could, but that's something that I struggled with, and those voices in my head, even as I got older and into high school and college, trying out with different things. But it was always going back to trying to impress people that really didn't deserve any of my attention.
For sure, for sure. So do you feel like you went through some mental challenges? Because that's the first time I ever heard someone like would color the picture because you knew your hair didn't look right. You're like, I'm not even about to. Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely mental, and I tried to put on a brave face as much as I could, but I always struggled with it. I remember one group of girls, I can't remember exactly what age I was at, but it was in elementary school. And I would always put water on my hair just to keep it from drying out and try to keep it looking conditioned in some way. And there were girls that would say that I was like a chia pet because I would put water on my hair. And so that stuck with me. I mean, I remember it now, and it's kind of funny to think back to, just because I've come far and it's not something that bothers me, but it was something damaging for a little girl to hear. And especially when doing something that her parents at the time thought was helpful.
Wow. It's just like when I think about the mental impact or the psychological impact that, hair discrimination has on people with textured hair. It is, it's huge. And that's why I'm doing the work with the texture of me, And just, that, like I said, that's the first I ever heard of someone coloring the picture. That was creative, I must say. That was quite creative.
And I was not an artistic person, so you could definitely tell that the image was altered. It was not the best work either.
Oh, boy, you're creative. I love it. I love it. And now, as in the profession that you are, as far as coaching and things like that, have you ever discovered, like, as far as image, that hair has played a huge role in women as well, of them, like, expressing themselves?
Yeah, it's become a lot more prominent. And, a lot of women I talk to, they are looking to develop themselves professionally. They're working on their personal brand, they're working on their image. And hair is not the first thing that comes up. But when we start digging into personal image, brand, that's something that many women who struggle with self-confidence actually are not spending a lot of time on. And so they're not looking at it in the same way as developing themselves from within. It's, getting up, taking that care of yourself, making sure that when you look in the mirror, you're happy with who you see, that you're not nitpicking apart all of your flaws. And it's become something that many women need to and have begun paying more attention to. And I think also with social media and Instagram, there are constantly hair tutorials you'll see and different ways of trying and styling. So it has become much more common to talk about when, especially, you're thinking about your personal brand and building self-confidence and moving up, from a professional standpoint. A lot of women weren't comfortable wearing their natural hair in the past, especially biracial and Black women. They felt like they needed to straighten their hair all the time and dye their hair a certain color, and wearing braids or protective styles wasn't something that, the corporate environment would embrace. And that's completely changed now, especially over the last decade. But it continues to be something that many women struggle with and talk about. And actually had a conversation with somebody this week who said, I usually wear my cornrows during the summer, but I'm not going to do that in the workplace, even though people are beginning to accept it. I'm not ready for the ridicule that may come with that yet. So it's an internal type of struggle and something that a lot of women still deal with, even if it's not something that people can see.
Yeah, and it's sad, but I mean, it's there. The internal dialogue that a person has regarding how society views them on how they wear their hair, but it started from somewhere. And even like when we were, like I said, when you was a kid, and how you were teased, even with me being biracial. I remember my mom, she did the best she could. And I don't know if you ever got relaxers, but I got relaxers, and that stuff burned,
Yeah. Relaxers, coloring hair, all of that. I've tried all kinds of things. And the relaxers were so damaging to hair. And it's looking back, like, never again will I. But the amount of damage done trying to fit in or look apart, it's bizarre to me. And I'm happy now that I know better and that I've gotten to this place. But there's still a lot of women who do things even now, altering their body, doing all kinds of stuff. But hair is something that we all see. It's something, usually the first thing people notice outside of your smile. And if you're not taking the time to embrace it and really feel like this is me and I'm proud of everything about me, it starts to show. And when I look back at photos from when I had my hair dyed, I dyed it blonde. I had like the ombre style, kind of brownish blonde, and bleaching it and straightening it. That's the period of time I would say I really was going through my identity crisis, because I felt like I was. And I looked back and somebody say, well, it looks good, it looks healthy. I just remember internally why I did it. So I don't associate that with health. And that's a huge piece that I think a lot of women have to think about. When you do things with your hair, and everybody says too, you go through a breakup, you change your hairstyle. Why are you doing this to your hair? What's keeping you from embracing your natural texture and who you are and what God gave you?
Right. Great points with that. And I think about, people do the big chop and things like that. And I know I had another guest, we were talking about the big chop, because a lot of times people want to like do this start over, but in the level of discovery of who we are, and you identify the different stages of your life where you're like, ooh, I wasn't even in a great space in that, and I was doing all that to my hair. I didn't even care, Yeah. And then here you are, your hair is beautiful. And it's like, wow, never even think that, I just think about like not even thinking that, because even with myself, of a level of self-discovery of embracing my hair, and I'm just like, you can't tell me nothing now, but back then, I remember just not wanting to go anywhere, because if my hair looked a certain way, and then I remember like when I would flat iron it and stuff, and I wouldn't go, if it rained, oh, you can forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And I love the way that you even expressed about like, you know, I don't know to say love, but just to bring the importance of people understanding that, you know, it still is with us today about how we view ourselves, even as a brand, our hair, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, right now, I don't know if you're familiar with the Crown Act, you know, and the Crown Act has been issued out where people are not to be discriminated on wearing their hair naturally. And right now it's passed in Austin, but not in Texas. So that's another conversation. And I'm looking to have a guest to on the show to explain what that actually means. But here we have a society where it's still not really accepted, but it really does impact how we view ourselves internally and externally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And
I'm not too familiar with that, but I mean, definitely, I'm happy to know that people are looking at it, because being who you are in the workplace, that's a huge piece of the work that, you know, I do, that helps folks with getting comfortable, confident, elevating in their career. And if you can't be who you are and you feel like you're holding a piece of yourself back, especially because of your hair and being discriminated against, you can't bring your full, true, whole self and your best self to the workplace. So it's great to hear that that's being looked at.
Yeah. I think about what you're saying as your client, you know, have not even wanting to wear the cornrows because she doesn't want to even deal with all that would entail, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's, we're in Houston, it's hot, it's summer. What is that doing for her? Like, how much discomfort is that causing for her to get ready in the mornings and be comfortable getting work done because she's afraid to wear her hair a certain way that makes her even more comfortable, that helps her have a more productive day, I'm sure. That's just, there's so many downsides to that. And unfortunately, you know, some workplaces aren't there yet.
Yeah.
So
The sad part about it, huh? Yeah. And with your journey, when did you decide to like full-fledged like go natural? You know, because you say you used to flat iron your hair and stuff like that. When were you like, you know, enough is enough?
I believe, interestingly enough, it was after one of my big breakups that I had with someone I had dated for about 3 years. And I decided I'm going to be myself entirely. At the time, I was dating someone, and I don't even remember ever being around them without makeup on. I don't remember ever feeling like I could just entirely be myself. I was working out a lot and not taking care of myself in ways like I was trying to be perfect. And once that relationship ended, I did a lot. I was in therapy. I did a lot of self-discovery just to understand more about why I felt this need for perfection and then the damage that it was doing. So once I finally got to a place where I realized I was doing all of these things for the wrong reason, I decided I'm not straightening my hair anymore. I'm going to get it cut and conditioned, figure out better ways to wear my hair naturally. I had those thoughts that came back about little girl with the chia pet hair, the damaged hair that looked like straw, constant water. Like, okay, how can I go about this in a healthier way, knowing, you know, I don't want to go back to that either. So I started to pay a lot more attention once I started really doing more work on myself internally. And then my hair kind of followed.
That's awesome. So about maybe 4 years or so?
Yeah, I would say that happened, let's see, yeah, about 3-4 years ago.
Awesome. And did you discover anything within yourself once you start really embracing yourself, like the level of self-love? What started to show up for you?
Yeah, that's something I began to just notice. Even at work, I was happier in my daily life, like my routine, just everything felt less heavy. I felt like I could just be me. I wasn't stressing out about what people thought as much. And I really just started to appreciate who I was in a different way. A lot of that just continues to evolve. I think the conversations I've had with people that, comes through, it continues to grow. I feel like I can actually add more to people instead of taking, which has been a huge piece of, coaching and in the work that I do in personal and professional development. So it's not just so much textbook. It's not so much a theory and motivational. It's actual life, and it's things that I can apply, things that I can help others with. So I've definitely noticed a big shift with also the people I'm around, the friendships that I have, the relationships that I have. Some people are not in my life now. It's completely fine. And I've just learned to appreciate, even with the smaller circle, that also impacted, who I had around, and the negative talk, just being more of who I am and attracting more of the type of people that can bring out the true me, where I don't have to put on a mask or feel like I'm altering a part of myself. So I think that's been probably the biggest thing, is the business and personal relationships that I have in my life.
Yeah, I love the way that, what I hear and you're saying is bringing a humanistic approach to things, right? Where you're able to relate with your clients in a way that, they get to be who they are, you get to be who you are, and it's just supporting them where they are and where they're not. And that's fully like authentically caring for people and supporting them with what they really want to accomplish. Wow. Really awesome. And it's funny because a lot of times, like I said, we think it's just hair, and it's more than just hair. It's a level of identity, and I love how unique our hair is for it's individual. Sometimes even on that one person's head, you have different curl texture pattern, different patterns on that one head. And it just is the deliciousness, as I would say, of the uniqueness of who we are, so yeah, that is so great. And the discovery of you had you be able to discovery of them and to fully accept them too, right?
Yeah. And I was surprised to even notice, and this is where you start to see who really loves and cares about you. And even when I started wearing my hair more natural and doing different styles with natural, I have not ever received as many compliments from people who've been in my life for a long time. Like, wow, your hair looks amazing. I love your hair. And those are things like as a child, I used to hear from older adults that, gosh, you have so much beautiful hair. I'm so jealous. I wish I had as much hair as you. And I hated it because, I've got all these girls at school telling me how ugly it is and fro and all those horrible things. But then it's also, when you get older, you appreciate things differently. So I wish I would have listened more to them. And, as soon as I started to embrace my natural hair, my closest friends that love and adore me even made sure to know that, I'm so happy that you stopped dyeing it. I'm so happy that you're not straightening it as much. Like, your hair is beautiful. You really, I can tell a difference in you. And those things are important to hear, not just from yourself and believing it, but, getting that affirmation from people who are close really helped also.
That's awesome. It's funny because I'm like, how long you been knowing my hair was you're beautiful and you ain't tell me, but
I know. Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Right?
Why didn't you tell me that I looked crazy with my blonde hair that's dried out and straight and frizzy?
Right. Yeah. But I was like, well, I just loved you and I didn't want to, girl, that time I was like, what was she thinking, Oh, Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's really exciting to see so much has changed and how people are really embracing their true selves. And, hopefully your client will eventually be able to embrace her hair, because it's just who we are, and the uniqueness of who we are plays a huge role in how it's not even about fitting in, but it's just the diversity and the deliciousness that we just get to be our unique selves, I think about even, and as you said, work with women, but I even think about my clients who are men who come in and, I just recently had a gentleman had to cut his hair because he has an interview coming up. He has curly hair. And he was like, well, I'm gonna cut it. I'm like, why are you gonna cut it? And he's like, well, because, I'm going on the interview. I'm like, dude, you gotta cut your hair. And it was beautiful hair, And it's just, like, come on, people, what is the deal? Letting us express ourselves and wear our hair the way we get to wear it doesn't take away how effective we are in our jobs or who we are as individuals. Yeah. And it's so great that you're just fully expressed and wearing that and the discovery that you're having for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely made a difference. I mean, not being able to show up who you are and feeling self-conscious about it. Like I said earlier, if you can't show up and be who you are, how are you going to be able to get your work done most effectively and bring your best self to work when you're putting on a mask or when you're trying to conform? Hopefully he realizes that he doesn't and shouldn't cut his hair off, because I would just say that's probably not the place for him to work.
Yeah, that's true. Most definitely. If you got to change who you are to come, there's no point of working there because then you're always changing, right?
No, I get it. If you've got a job where you need to have your hair back and for safety purposes, wearing a hat, like that's fine. But the fact you have to cut it off, no, there has to be other ways.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, it's the uniqueness of who we are. And if we have to change it, well, we would always be conforming to life, and that's a loss of self-expression. So yeah, totally. Yeah, really, like I said, really appreciate the work that you're doing with women and, they're able to, get coaching from you or you're providing that space of the discovery of who they are, in the case with that lady, do you think later in life you tell her to start wearing her hair? What would you offer to her as a coach, being that this self-image that she's trying to with a hold that is really not who she is? What would you tell her to how to embrace her hair?
I think she does embrace it. And I did ask, like, what's holding you back from doing it? And she says, especially in the times we're living in, there's so much look at, diversity and inclusion and acceptance, and just especially in the workplace, people learning more about different cultures and embracing them rather than running from it. And she knows that is the time we're in, and there's the perfect chance to be who you are. She just struggles with not wanting to be the first one. So that's something, continuing to work with her. What happens, like what could you do for everybody else coming in behind you if you were the first one? And what's the worst that could happen? I love to ask that question to my clients when they struggle with taking a leap and taking action on something they know in their heart they want to do and they should do, but they still struggle with what people are going to think. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Right.
I can promise you won't get fired.
Right.
But what, you're going to have a few people make judgments or make comments? That could always happen, but they're not relevant.
Yeah.
And so it takes time for people to get there and truly believe that, because it's easier said than done in a lot of cases. But yeah, that's the question I'll always ask. What is the worst thing that could happen?
That's great. That's really, really great. Because when I think about, what is the worst that could happen in the space of, when you were talking about, her coworkers, they're already saying something. That's the funny part of it, right?
Yeah.
They're already saying something. And so why not get to explore even who she gets to be and just wearing her hair. And then if she doesn't like it, at least she tried it, Yeah. And I just think about, I really love the fact of you, like, is what I'm hearing, like even being a pioneer, like she'll be the first, and then when she be the first, she gives space for other people to be inspired by the stand that she's being, And I think that's what a lot of people are doing nowadays, and we're embracing wearing, we're all embracing wearing our hair. We're a pioneer and within our lives for ourselves, generationally, for one, right? And then to be in the workplace or wherever we are and being that unique person, because we're all unique anyway, and to be that stand and to work with the texture of me. I really get that I'm being a pioneer in this. So that's why it's new to some people, and people like, I never thought about mental health as it relates to hair. And I'm just like, yeah, it's $1 billion industry, And it's just as you said, that what you discovered, and when you're coaching your clients, they're discovering different things as it relates to their hair, So it is a huge impact. So thank you for the work that you're doing and supporting women to see the beauty from within.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a joy for me, like I said, because I've come from a place where I wasn't as confident in who I was. I felt like I had to change or wear a mask and conform to my environment. It really held me back for a long time. And if I could go back and tell my younger self everything I know now, and I would have been probably much more successful sooner and happier sooner. Right. And that's something that I definitely, younger girls want them to feel like they can learn that lesson as fast as possible, because the limitations that we put on our life because of those things is just so heartbreaking to think about in hindsight.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking, isn't it? So as far as the women, is there a certain age group that you work with at all, or the women that you work with?
Yeah, most of the women I work with are in professional environments. So adults who are corporate world. I work with a lot of independent contractors, consultants as well, that kind of do their own thing. But most of the women I work with are in business. I love doing events occasionally, and pre-COVID, I did many more of these, but speaking at high schools, young girls, being able to help mentor, even in some colleges, going in, assisting with resumes and things like that, where I have the chance to get to know some of these young girls, what they are trying to do, what's getting in their way, and start helping them to see more about what's important instead of so much pressure about what other people think. Even when people are trying to choose their careers at that age, I mean, we don't know what we want to do when we're in high school, and even in college. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But when you ask somebody what they want to do and why, it's usually some sort of status symbol or something they heard because somebody else said they might be good at it, but it's not something they truly decided is a passion. And being able to help them discover what their passions are and really embrace what they love, regardless of what other people think, is a true joy for me, especially when you can do that early on.
I would like to add this before we complete. So do you feel like when you are fully accepting yourself of all of who you are, that you could actually see that for other people as well?
Yeah, I honestly, in my heart, believe that everyone is capable of doing exactly what they want to do if they get out of their own way. And it starts with getting out of your own way and not worrying about others who are in the way. There's always going to be judgment. There's always going to be opinions of others. But if you can sleep peacefully at night and look in the mirror every day and be happy with who you are and what you see, and you're not waking up regretting a decision you didn't make or something you didn't do, that's what matters. Right. And I wholeheartedly believe that every person was put on this earth and is breathing every day for a reason. There's too many people who unfortunately aren't here. They've lost their life. And I would hate to think, that your last day on earth, you're thinking back to all the what ifs. And as a coach, my job is to help people to see the true potential they have in themselves with no agenda attached to it. And if you truly believe you're ready to do something different and you have a strong reason why, and it's something that keeps you up at night, we have to figure out how to get you there. And we have to figure out what's getting in your way so that you can remove those things and start making forward progress.
Awesome. Bravo. I love that. That is so awesome. Well, Brittany, it was amazing having you on the show. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Where can our guests, our listeners and viewers find you?
Well, I have a website. It is brittannitbelow.com, and I'm on social media as well. I do use Instagram and Twitter pretty often. So my handle on Instagram is Playful Professional. And on Twitter, it is Playful Coach.
Okay. So Playful Professional on Instagram and Playful Coach on Twitter. Yep. And otherwise, your website is brittannitbelow.com.
Yes.
Awesome. But Brittany, we are so glad that you took the time to be on our show today. Thank you for the work that you're doing and just making an impact in women's lives, because we need you so much right now, more than ever, with so much going on.
I appreciate that.
Yes, continue the great work and congratulations of all your successes. And again, thank you so much for being on the show, and you're welcome to come back anytime you choose.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been so much fun to talk about this and even just reflect. Now I'm even more inspired to go back and write more now that I'm thinking about some of these things. So thank you for such thought-provoking questions.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I will see you soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great one.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the show, please share it with others. Post about it on your social media. Leave a rating and review. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.